I'm Simon and this is Amy, and we're here at the old mill, which has been our self-build project for some years now. But today we're very excited because we're going to be installing the OnlyCat cat flap in our home for our cats. Very excited. So here we are about to install the OnlyCat cat flap, and we first decided the location and checked everything is appropriate inside and outside for this wall location. So we have determined the correct height for the installation at 150 millimeters from the floor, and that will give the cats the perfect height for entry and access. We then determined that the cat flap is in exactly the right position and level, following which I will mark around the outside of the internal wall to create a template. As you can see, we have a template. So I've just drilled a hole through the wall on the outside to determine the position. So that I don't get it wrong, I wanted to make sure that we tried to line it up with the cat flap inside. So this has also given me the depth of the wall, so I now know how thick the wall is from this face to the other face. So I can work out exactly what is required in terms of tunnel extenders. So now I've determined the position from the inside to the outside with a drill hole. I can now locate the cat flap cut out on the outside, so I'm going to check that's level. And what I've done also is allow a 10mm difference in height from the inside to the outside. So this is running slightly downhill in case any rain ever gets into this slot. It will allow the water to run out. So then I'm going to mark on the outside my cutout slot. Now that that's all level. And all I did was measure from the hole my inside dimensions to the same as and then transfer them to the outside. So it's just the same. So I'm now going to use a multi-tool just to cut a clean line of the cutout on this side. You don't need to use a multi-tool, I'm just using that for a nice clean cut. You could literally use a little hammer and chisel or a bolster or anything really just to get through that. Or you could pin drill all the way through the wall, but I'm just going to use a multi-tool to get through that. So much like the inside, I'm going to cut a nice clean line around just so we don't damage the brickwork when we knock the brickwork out. This is really just to give a nice clean cut. And I'm just going to cut on the ever so slightly on the outside of that edge so that I've got enough room to put the tunnel in. Now I've cut out with the angle grinder the shape from the outside. By the way, I've cut the angles, but you can just do a square. And this will now, I've hashed it here, so this will allow the brick pieces just to fall out comfortably from when I'm taking them out with a hammer and chisel from the inside. Again, I used an angle grinder for neatness, but you could just do that with a bolster and a lump hammer. So you don't need an angle grinder to do that. We have the hole now cut out. Just going to do a little bit of tidying up of the mortar there, and there it is all the way through. And as you can see, we're doing slightly unusual power run for this. Most people will have power in the property, which is obviously far better. We haven't got power anywhere near the cat flap location, but we do have an external box just outside, less than 2 meters away. So we're running a cable in the wall and along here into the box, and it'll plug in there. So that will be where the power runs from. For our particular installation, the hole is now cut, everything is done, and the cable is run. As we mentioned earlier, our cable run is slightly different to the most in that it runs outside. And as you can see, we have the cable in the bottom here, and it runs in conduit through the mortar joints just 1.5 meters away to a junction box. And there is the OnlyCat adapter. So we're very excited. We're going to point that back in, and once the cat flap's in, we can switch it on. Okay, so because we're going into a wall, typically the size of the cat flap is not big enough for your average wall, so you need to use an extending tunnel. which is quite a straightforward product. It's a tunnel extender from Shore Flap, and our particular wall requires 3 of these because we're 200 odd mil, so we need to just slot these together. Now these slot together quite simply, as you can see, very neatly, creating a tunnel. And I've just now got to glue and tape these edges, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to apply some glue to the 4 tabs that are around the edge here, just a small amount around the 4 tabs. Be careful not to get it on your fingers, of course. Most of the glues these days are ferocious. Okay, so now I'm just going to push these 2 parts together and hold them tight while the glue goes off. So that, then I will, once all 3 parts are together, which is what I need, I will then tape the joints. Okay, so gluing the second extender on, just going to put a little tiny bit of glue around these 4 tabs. Again, being careful not to get it on the fingers. Okay, and once again, just push those together before the glue sets. Make a nice seal. And just to make sure there's no glue on the inside, I'm going to just wipe around in case any spilled out with a appropriate cleaning cloth. The second part is just to tape the joins that we have glued of the tunnels. I'm using a white PVC electrical tape, which will make a nice join around the edge. There we go, all done. So here are the typical tools needed for an installation of the OnlyCat cat flap and tunnel extenders. As you can see, we've got some tools for getting through a wall, some bolster and chisel and a lump hammer, screwdriver, tape measure, the glue, tape, and a pencil and some scissors, and of course a dustpan and brush for clearing up. We used a few more tools, such as power tools, to carry out the installation. So we used an angle grinder, a drill, and a multi-tool for cutting a nice clean hole. But really you only need these few tools in front of you. So here's the exciting part. Literally now going to fit the OnlyCat cat flap in the hole. This is the hole fully prepared, and as we've mentioned a few times, we've got power coming through here. So normally this can be fitted a number of ways. You can fit it with a mounting plate to the back, or you can undo these 4 screws here, there, and once you've undone those, the panel at the back will be able to be removed. You've got to be very careful of the ribbon cables inside and the USB point that's inside there. But once you've removed that, you can then fit this plate to your surround if you preferred, and then screw the cat flap back once again. I'm actually going to attach this particular one using Power Grab and Bond, which is a simple adhesive silicone based product from C-Tech. Really good for instant grabbing. And what I'm going to do is just apply a tiny bead, 4 little blobs around the side of the back, which will enable me to fit it quite simply by pushing to the space there. And if I need to break that seal in the future, just a sharp blade in here will cut that, and then it can come off again. So no different to using a mechanical fixing. As you can see in our particular scenario, a mechanical fixing would be very difficult because we have lime plaster and a very soft wood fibre insulation, so getting fixings close into there would be nigh on impossible. So just to complete the outside insulation and just to hold the tunnel in place, I'm injecting some expanding foam around the tunnel. This will help hold it in place and insulate it a little bit. So on our installation here, we can't screw into the brickwork, it's too fragile, being made up of lime mortar, so we're just going to silicone the outer frame around the surround of the tunnels and make that all smooth and neat. So here it is, the installed OnlyCat cat flap, completely finished. Just need to power up and connect to the Wi-Fi. It's a very easy installation and very neat. It's a really neat looking product, as you can see. So here is the outside of the OnlyCat flap, now installed with the faceplate siliconed to the tunnel, so it's all neat and clean and fixed in place. So here we are about to power up the cat flap for the first time. Oh, there's a cat. So this is now the first time this has been powered up, and I'm going to see what happens. So, power's on. We've got some lovely flashing lights. And straight away we've got a clear instruction to scan the code so we can download the app. Brilliant.